Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to start by saying that English is my second language, and this is a one-man show, so please bear with me a little bit. And since I'm talking of the internet, I'm gonna have to start by a big bang, and my big bang is that there is the first generic framework system or digital framework system ever to or can be applied or on mathematics, physics, chemistry, a movie, song, painting. Actually, I have one paper on performance art. Now, the main basic thing I want to achieve is that the Earth sustainability satisfaction is a successful case study. Again, Earth sustainability satisfaction is a successful case study. And I'm going to achieve this target by adopting my PhD, which title is Intelligent E-Marketing System. Okay. Now, this PhD was finished or was presented. This is my PhD presentation in 2015. And since then, I really didn't read it again. But, we're going to start with it. Okay. This dissertation process has 5 basic stages. Now, for any generic framework, it has a new terminology that can contain any product or any service, such as mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, geology, basically any kind of product and service. So we're going to have a new terminology, new formulation, a new methodology, a new implementation, technology and case study, a new conclusion, implications, future work, of course. Now, let us talk a little bit about the problem definition. The problem definition in all sciences is basically to connect between the strategic and operational. Let's say I want a cure for COVID-19. Now, I'm going to have to ask myself first, is COVID-19 intelligent or not? Of course, COVID-19 is intelligent. But let me go back a little bit to the problem definition. Let's talk first about all this presentation in the e-marketing volume or perspective. And then we're going to adopt it in my papers, which are all IEEE in the UK, Tokyo, and UAE, and UK. Anyhow, let's start by the problem definition. The problem definition, basically, in all business sciences, is I have the business, which is a linear progression. First step goes to second step, goes to third step until I finish the process. I cannot go from 1 to 5 until I pass on the other stages in between. But on the other side, the user is independent, ambiguous. Let's talk about me. I like diving. I like fast cars, of course. But then I could like diving, volleyball, and I don't like fish. So it's all independent and ambiguous. So there is no framework to directly link between the linear progression, operations, and independent and ambiguous requirements or strategic requirements. There is no way to put them in one framework at the same time with a generic understanding. Okay? So what happens is, let's say from the business to the user, we had two ways. This is from the business to the user, and this is from the user to the business. Okay, so from the business to the user is like BMW or the Merc. Now it's BYD and all that. Anyhow, I like Volvo. Anyhow, uh, from from operational to strategic, and from strategic to operational. So let's say Volvo EVs made a new car, and then it's gonna search for the user who can satisfy the payment and or everything else. But on the other hand, if I have Amazon wanting to sell something to the user, then Amazon or Alibaba will search for the satisfaction factors of the user and then buy the products that the user is probably satisfied with more or has more satisfaction performance for the user. And these two can never be the same. They cannot connect. That was the main problem. Okay? But now we're going to put them in one framework or system, digital system, that can directly link them all the time. And this made that generic. Okay? Okay. So we're gonna, in the terminology, we're gonna present a new e-marketing environment. Let's talk about this for a second. Now, the business, and this is the user. Now, the business is gonna make a product. The business is gonna make a product. And this product is going to be sold to the user. If the user has satisfaction, he will send the product a feedback. Now, if the product or if the business find in the product and the user satisfaction a sector that he can build his satisfaction on, he will take that satisfaction to reproduce the product, and then the product will have its own satisfaction. So although the business has human interaction or human perspective, and the user has a human perspective, the product doesn't have a human perspective. But since the business satisfaction and the user satisfaction were used in the evaluation process so that the product can be reproduced again, then the product has its own satisfaction. And in that sense, the product has a certain intelligence. Now, I know everybody has read or heard about user or business satisfaction, but nobody heard about product satisfaction. Okay. So there is participants. E-marketing, this is the e-marketing environment that has the business satisfaction, the user satisfaction, and the product satisfaction. That is the new environment. Now there are participants and testators. Of course, the business and the users are the testators, but the business and the user and the product are the participants. Okay, so there is a difference between the testators and the participants. So I can evaluate the testators alone, or I can evaluate the participants. So I have a lifetime and a life cycle. Now, the e-marketing environment, participants, testators, definitions, and satisfaction resources, activities, adaptation, terminology. Formulation, I'm going to talk about the user satisfaction mechanisms. Of course, my PhD was talking only about the user satisfaction as a deep dive perspective in the PhD. But the same terminology, we can adopt it on the user satisfaction and the business satisfaction. You're going to see. So here the user satisfaction mechanisms can be business satisfaction mechanisms or the product satisfaction mechanisms. For the framework, alignment, integrity, satisfaction, logic. Now the methodology, we're going to have the framework process, calculations, and recommendations. And because, of course, there's no website that uses the same terminology, formulation, so I couldn't map between my system and any other system. So what I did is that I chose ISO 25010, which is basically system and software quality models, requirements, and evaluation. And I took every quality requirements and evaluation, such as satisfaction or interoperability or security or comfort, and I adapted it to my framework. But I gave a specific performance evaluation numbers for quantitative and qualitative variables and requirements, as we're going to see together. Actually, these are not in the PhD. These are not in the PhD presentation. They are in my PhD. Actually, it's more bigger than my PhD. Okay. Then we're going to go to framework implementation, technology, and case study, which is going to website methodology, implementation purposes, plan and strategy. Actually, here, everything that is in bold is going to be a new presentation that you have never, or the science have never treated in that way or defined it in that way, okay? This PhD will have about 30 or 35 definitions. There is no prepositions here. And okay, let's start.